Just a moment. Okay. Okay. As discussed with Anna, our argument, the argument that we will try to discuss together today is about. Can you see my presentation in this moment?
Yes, we can see.
You see the full screen presentation, or it is in a small? Because in this moment I cannot see in the.
At this moment, I see black. I don't know the others, but I don't see.
You don't see my screen?
No.
Because usually I use another system. I don't use Meet. So
it was okay before. We could have seen before.
Yes, but the problem is that before I didn't see you. So I just saw the presentation, but
And I think it goes like this, Antonella. I think it goes like this. You have to just show the presentation, and maybe you will not see us.
Ah, okay. No, we usually use another.
Okay.
Now you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I found the system to see you as well. Okay. Yes, I can see you as well. Okay, very good. So our discussion today will be about new methodologies for learning. So we will try to discuss together some general aspect, and then I will propose to you some methodologies that we are using with my collaborator in a different context, and also for school, for education, for cognitive empowerment, and so on. So I hope they will be of some interest for you. And also I tried to put in contact my discussion with the aim of your project. So we also think about possible application in the field of sea life and education about the maintenance of the sea and nature and so on. Okay, I start with a short self-presentation. I'm a researcher, I'm a psychologist, and I'm a researcher at the University of Palermo. And my research and clinical activities focus on psychology of learning. I worked from several years on learning and learning disorders, special needs, and so on. But in more recent years, I'm also working on method and tools for improve awareness about emotion, because I'm convinced that learning is, and we will discuss it in our seminar, that learning is also closely nested to emotions and motivation. And I worked a lot also on educational technologies, and in particular about educational robotics, that we will focus on during this seminar. My work is at university, but also outside the university, because I belong to several scientific Italian and foreign organization. So, for instance, I also created an association in Palermo that is Methodologies, international center Methodologies, and we also joined two different Erasmus projects, probably similar to the project that you are developing. If you want to know something else, or you want to read some of my articles, papers, and news, I have also a website. And okay, I put in. This is the website is antonelladamico.altervista.org. Okay, so and then please ask me all you need, it could be of some interest for you.
Antonella, scusa se ti interrompo un attimo, sorry if I disturb you, but I just received a message from Anna Tarallo, which everybody knows, which is our headmaster, and she wants to say hello to everybody, but she cannot, unfortunately, she cannot attend because she has some problems to solve, a school's problem to solve. So she say hello to everyone, and she says she hopes she can see you. She can see all of you somewhere, hoping in Italy. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. And okay, we can go on with our discussion. I don't know which is the background of all of you. I know that you are all teachers, but are you teachers in different discipline, or you are the most of you are teacher in science or just scientific matters, or what?
No, we are all different. I teach music, so it's and some math. Emilia teach. Emilia, what do you teach exactly? Math and physics or something like this, no? Chemistry.
Like
and then
like me in Portugal, no. Chemistry.
Okay, like Nuno chemistry. And Juicy, it's English. Some are primary school teachers, so we are very mixed.
Okay, so there is really a mix of competency and interest.
Yes.
Okay, but I think that trying to define what is learning is something useful for all, and because in any situation, in any grade that you teach, the principal aim of teachers is to improve learning of students. But we have to discuss firstly, and in order to establish which could be a good new methodology for learning. I'm sorry, I missed an S on methodology.
No problem.
For learning. We have definitely to abandon the concept of learning as to learn information, because our students, you know that our students, even when they are very young, pupils of primary school or just the first level of secondary school and so on, they are what we call digital natives. So you know that they are very good at check information in the net. Sometimes they are more able than us to manage all the technologies and so on. So they are a principal ability in the new century, for the new generation. In my conception, is not to learn information, because the net is full of information. The new ability that we have that we should improve in our student should be the ability to look for information and also to choose the right information. So I think that in this moment it is the most important things. And this is also for adults, because you know that, for instance, if we reflect about the situation that we are living now, for instance, about COVID, we are really overloaded of a lot of information that are sometimes are very in contrast each others, and the maximum effort that even adults have to do now is to look for the right information, to distinguish between good and the bad information. So I think that learning for the future is to enable children to develop this important ability in looking for the right information in the sea of the internet. So we are talking about the sea, but it is another kind of sea, in the sea of information that now are really available. So you know that students when they have to study, don't use exclusively the book, as probably in our generation. When we was student, we principally used the book. Now the new student use the internet. So the important things is the ability to distinguish among good and bad information. Eventually, another important skill that the student should learn is the ability to build new information. What I mean to build new information? I mean that students need to put together different sources of information in order to build a new one. And this is another important ability, that is the ability for the future. This effort should be the effort for the school of the future, and you can. I don't know in particular which is the kind of work that you are doing in every day and during this project. I don't know it in particular, but you know that many schools and many teachers are very, very far from this approach about learning. You know that in many cases the school is the school nowadays is very similar to the school of 20 or 30 years ago. But the students that we have now at school are very different from the student of 20 or 30 years ago. So I think that this is a big problem, and sometimes with our students we fail to do a good work with them, just for this problem in the concept that we have about learning. I don't know if you, what do you think about this? Which is your opinion about this aspect and this and the change that I propose in the term on the meaning of what is learning. Another aspect, if you want, you can just stop me and.
No, yes, I want to say that I agree with you, because I think today they really learn through internet. I mean, but I want to say that all of us, I mean, we are very close. We are not teachers very far from the school or in this thinking of way of thinking. We are very close, so we are not too far. We are all agree. And we use the digital, everything digital in our lessons. And I think personally that the students are much faster in the thought than us, much faster. Sometimes it's tough to go behind them. Maybe they don't know Mozart, Beethoven, but they for sure have skills of, how do you say, select situation, which is faster than us. And of course, this has been doing by the video games, by these which stimulate this part of the brain, let's say.
Yes, you know, a problem that I often have when I teach to teachers is that I always teach to the best teachers. I mean that teachers that participate to project like this one, or that look for new methods and so on, are always the best teachers. So they but very often they share a new vision about learning and school. The problem is for the other teachers that are in the school, the teachers that
it's true.
Don't participate to seminars like this one or others that you can organize. And so, you know, I think that you agree with me that even if something is not really true for you, is true for many teachers in the school. So our effort is is to try to involve them, to convince them sometimes in using and in approaching to new methodologies. Well, another important aspect for me, and this is an aspect that I tried to develop in my research activities, is that learning is not a cold. Sorry again. I cannot see the. Okay. I try to. Now you see again my presentation, or you don't see it?
Yes, we see. I see.
We see. We see.
Okay. Learning is not a cold process. What do you mean? What I mean when I say cold process, and as opposite to warm to hot process, I mean that for many years we divided the human cognition in two kinds of process: the cold process and the warm or hot processes. The cold processes are considered the process in cognitive abilities such as reasoning, memory, attention, and so on. And for many years, and now there are many people and many teachers that are still convinced that learning is, for some aspect, is a cold process. So they are convinced that if a student succeeds or fail in a learning process, it is because he is a good reasoning ability, just because he has a good reasoning ability, memory ability, attention ability, and so on. And this is true, but it is not enough, because learning, it is also a warm to hot process. What I mean when I say the word warm to hot, it is for sure it is a warm process. Sometimes it is a hot process, because, for instance, if you think about students that have learning disabilities, well, for them, learning is a hot process, because every time they fail, every time they have the same difficulty in reading, in writing, in mental calculation, or in solving a math problem, or so on, their emotion and their cognitive processes and their motivation is threatened by the situation. And this is true not only for students that have learning disabilities or very heavy learning disabilities, but it is true also for students that many have some kind of difficulties, not a pathological one, but some kind of difficulties in a particular area of learning. So, you know, for instance, that all of us, and also your students, may be more able in, for instance, in literature, in music, or in math, or in a particular aspect of school learning. And they are not very good in other aspects of school learning. Well, a warm process, a hot process influence in the same way. They are good abilities, and also they are not very good abilities, because emotions are always involved in learning, and also in reasoning, memory, and attention, because you know, if the focus of our processes is about emotion, for instance, if I'm trying to solve a math problem, and in a particular moment my worry is about my difficulties in solving the math problem, my attentive resources will be reduced, because my attention will be all taken by my worry. If, on the contrary, I am quite I have a high level of self-confidence about my math problem, my attention will be only focused on the problem. So this is an example of how the warm processes, emotion and motivation, may influence my learning and the performance that I will have in a school activity or in performing a school task. And all these will influence also my motivation for learning, because none of us is interested in failing. All of us want to succeed. All of us want to use our own time in the best way. What I mean, if I study, I would like to have results for my study. So I'm well motivated to study if I see that my effort are rewarded by the results. Students that don't see this kind of reward because they always fail are students that very often start to dedicate their effort and their interest in other direction. So another important effort of the school is to find their motivation, to save their motivation, and to save the emotional aspects of their learning in order to keep their interest towards school and learning, and to find with them the best way to teach some aspect, the way that can be for them more simple, the way that can be for them more we'll see this aspect that involve more them, both their cold and their warm processes. In this sense, consider that this is a recent aim also in the World Health Organization. I'm sure that you already have heard about learning about life skills, and you know that the life skills are considered one of the target for learning. I mean that the school now is considered the place where students have to develop these life skills, and not only to develop knowledge about specific arguments. And if you see the list of life skills that the World Health Organization defined, you see that some of them, for instance, decision making, problem solving, but also creative thinking, critical thinking, are skills about very similar to cold process, because you know that in order to take a decision, in order to solving a problem, in order to use your creative thinking or your critical thinking, you have to reason, you have to use your under brackets rational processes. And the other life skills are self-awareness, and then effective communication, interpersonal relationship skills, empathy, coping with emotion and coping with stress, that are more hot processes or warm processes. So you see that the life skills are a wall that include both cold and warm processes. And sometimes it's very difficult to divide cold and warm processes, because I can see that every decision making involve also the emotions. I can see that the problem solving involve also emotional processes, and the same is for creative thinking, and all of them are really interconnected each other. So when we try to teach to children, we should always take in consideration the whole of these processes. This is a general background, but then we have also to focus on some of them, because it is a very long list of aspects to consider. So what we'll focus on today in the short time that we have for us for this seminar. I tried to reflect on what we could discuss today that could interest all of us, and I tried to put together as the first my research interest and expertise, because I would like to talk to you about something that I know, but also something that could be about the new methodologies for learning. I would like also to consider your project about sea and sea life, because I know that for you is also important to have a connection with the activities that you are doing. But also I decide to consider the interest of students about technologies, because for the reasons that I told before, if we want to catch the attention of our students, we have to do the effort to talk their language and to use the method that they can understand and that is really motivating for them. It's for these reasons that I decided today to focus on educational robotics, because educational robotics is a method that could help us to reach all the aim that probably a new way to teach and is a new way to teach and a new way to learn for our student, and also because educational robotics has been already applied in the field of education about sea and sea life. So probably it could be also a good suggestion for you and for the future of your project. What is educational robotics? I don't know if some of you already had some kind of training about that. Is some of you have never heard about educational robotics?
We have a program in Portugal.
Okay, and you attended this program, so you never used this kind of method?
Yes, we do.
Ah, we do. Okay, very good. So in your group, you already have an expert in this method, and it could be a good start if you want to use this method in your project. And what about the others?
We started, sorry, from Spain. We started 2 years ago with Mindstorms and We Do, and also B-Bots for the youngest.
Okay, very good. And so we have Portugal and Spain and
Romania.
We haven't this kind of.
Emilia, do you have?
No, we haven't.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so it is new for you, and also it is new for Italy?
Yeah, it's we know about that, but it's not really, I mean, very common, these things. It's not
Okay,
really common.
You never used this kind of method in your school, probably?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so let me to introduce the general method. Educational robotics refers to the application of robotics in an education context. So the picture that you see here are exactly this one is the Mindstorm kit. So some of you told me from Spain, you already are using or used this kind of tool, and this is the WeDo. So it is another kind of small educational robots. They are both created and sold by Lego. So they are robots that are produced by Lego, but differently from other kind of Lego games, they are really intelligent games, because each robot contains a lot of components that really allow children and students to reason about several aspects also of human life. What I mean? I mean that when children work with robots, they have to consider the functioning of sensors, and these help them to reason about the sensorial system, human sensorial system, because they start to understand that our human sensorial system works like sensor in robot. Well, not exactly in the same way, but they can start to reason about the way the sensorial system works. Then they can program motors, and so reasoning about the motor system. Wheels that in some way represent the skeletal system, and because they allow the robots to move. For instance, these robots can move and make some paths. Other robots are not have not wheels, so they don't move, but the most of them usually have wheels. And then there is the central processor that in this robot is here.
Sorry, Antonella.
Yes.
Antonella.
Yes.
I'm Barbara Pappagalli, and 2 years ago I attended the course, robotic course in to you.
Yes. Hi, Barbara. I didn't notice your first. Yes. So you already. But are you in this school?
I'm in Francesco Riso, Isola delle Femmine.
Okay, so in your school you already applied this method or not?
A little bit, very.
Probably after the course you had the opportunity to apply it.
Oh, yeah.
So okay,
So
it is a good.
This moment I drive. I'm driving.
So it is a good news. So also in your school you could try to start even during this project to start to apply this methodology, and I think that is very useful because among partners you can also decide, I hope so, to create.
Of course.
To create a project about that together. I cannot see you. Okay, I go on. And an educational robotics kit is composed of a box with a lot of Lego bricks that can be combined together in order to building the robot. But then another important aspect is that the robot can be also programmed. So its brain, the central processor, is really a small computer, and the children can be trained to create programs for the robot. So it is very important because you know that to create programs for a robot is a very important training for children and students, because they have to learn, for instance, the if-then rules, a kind of, this is called conditional reasoning, and the conditional reasoning is the basis of our reasoning. So when children start to program robots, it is very important because they trying in order to assign to robots the reasoning process, or in order to assign robot a task, problem solving, in order to let robot to solve a problem and so on, they have to represent this kind of problem, and they have to represent this kind of conditional reasoning. So it is a very important ability for students and children. And then they can really verify if the robots in action in the environment are the right one. So for instance, they create a robot, they create the program, they put the robot in the task, and they can see if their program was the good one. If it is the good one, they solved the problem. If it is not the good one, they can start again with the cycle, because they see, okay, where I was wrong, I have to change something in the program, I have to change something in the building of robot, and so on. So it is really a process of learning, very active, very involving, that involves participant, and that really stimulate creativity, stimulate problem solving capacity, and stimulate real active learning. On the other hand, the educational robotics was created, was invented, we can see, by Papert, and Papert said that robots can be objects to think with. He meant, with this sentence, he meant that using a robot, and in order to assign a behavior to a robot, we start to think about its behavior, our behavior, and this is really a dynamic process of deep learning. And then you can use these strategies, this methodology, in order to teach or learning concepts about mathematics, computer programming, physics, but also for improving specific cognitive skills like visual constructive abilities, reasoning, problem solving, but also narrative and paradigmatic thinking. Because when children build a robot, they can really create something that can think that, well, not with educational robotics kits is not so simple to do that, but you know, even with a small robot that just move on a path, for children it is very interesting to observe this kind of robot, because children attribute to robots also a sort of thinking. And in our experience, they sometimes create also stories about the behavior of robot. They said, for instance, the robot wants to do that, the robot don't want to do that. So it is clear that there's nothing that the robot wants or not to want, because it all depends on the kind of program that you wrote. But when children see the robot moving in an environment, they attribute also a narrative and a paradigmatic thinking. And this is also another important aspect that involves them in the activities, and that can be also used by teachers in order to teach some new concept and school concept. Other aspects or other important aspects are that since learning context should be able to promote the use of functional strategies to achieve pre-established goals, they should be able to promote exposure to different point of view, involvement of students, role of the teacher as facilitator of the source of knowledge. So a teacher is a facilitator, is not someone that give the information, but just that facilitate the student in achieving the information. And also learning context should be able to promote cooperation, use of investigation methodologies. Well, all these activities can be really present in a robotics lab. So if you use this kind of methodology with your student, for instance, giving them just a task, okay, you have to program a robot that have to be able to go from the point 1 to the point 2. Or you can also assign them a more difficult task. In this case, you will see that all these aspects will be in the activities, because the teacher will be the facilitator, but the group will discuss about, the group of students will discuss about the goals. They will share their different point of view, because, for instance, one of them will say, okay, we have to apply these strategies, and the other will say, no, we have to apply another kind of strategies, and so on. So really all the aspect of this kind of learning that we call constructivist learning, because it is the construction of learning from the group, are really, it is very simple to realize this kind of learning using educational robotics at school, or also in extrascholastic environment. Another important aspect of robotic is that educational robotics allow to create poor defined activities. What I mean for poor defined activities? Sorry. Harrington and Kelvin define this term. A poorly defined activities is a complex task in which the students are given a goal, but they have to define all the steps that are necessary to reach this goal. Okay, so the poor defined activity is a more difficult one, because the students are less guided by teachers, by adults. So they really find themselves in a very difficult problem-solving activities. But it is very useful for them. Why it is useful? Because if you think about our everyday life, we are in our everyday life, we are always involved in poorly defined problem-solving. I mean that there is not a questions and an answer. There are many questions that I have to select, and there could be many different ways to reach the answer. and they could be also different answers. So this is the life. And sometimes in the school we do the opposite. We give to our students a question and an answer, so they just learn this kind of question and this kind of answer. And you know that sometimes if we just change a small aspect in the question, they are not able to answer again, because they don't develop the ability to generalize a concept. So a poorly defined activities is more difficult, but it is very important for building knowledge and also for increasing their problem-solving abilities. What do you think about this distinction about poorly defined activities and the kind of problem-solving that we proposed at school?
It's always me. I always speak. I think it's correct. It's for sure. It's a new situation. I mean, it's a robotics that doesn't go. I mean, we don't never use these things in the school, but for sure we start with other process, which is like building other things that maybe they have not the live and emotional parts, but for sure they involve brain process to build something like. I would say, even I'm talking about even my material, my subject, my music, which is like, okay, let's build together a song, which is involve a lot of things, and maybe not emotional. I mean, some part emotional, but maybe not like. But we can see the perspective from different ways. So let's see, if we put one note, it's different than another one. Do you like this? We try to do something like this, which is involve them and give them the opportunity to express themselves. That's the point. For sure, a lot of things we don't have. It's not robotics, but it's something much easier that we can have at school, and we do with this small program. Maybe small. Yes,
Anna, I think that probably for you, since you teach music, is very simple to catch and you use in your activities, because music, I think that is the the best example of teamwork, creativity, and
it is.
But you also know that not all teachers of music use this kind of approach. But they
I know that. Unfortunately, I know
students to read the song and to reply in several times. Okay, but in other materials, I don't know, in math, chemistry, or science, or so on, is not always so simple to create this kind of poor defined activities, because sometimes you have a group of information, kind of information, and you just give this kind of information to this group of information to your students, and then you just ask them to learn this information to give you back the same information. There's not really
apply the rule.
Yes, apply the rule. Well, apply the rule could be already something more higher than just repeat the rule. Sometimes just repeat the rule is the case. I don't know if probably not in your personal experience, but for sure in your school, you sometimes, or with your students, you sometimes say that, for instance, for some concept about science, they just repeat a rule, an algorithm, a law or science, but they don't really understand the meaning. I think about, for instance, more, I don't know, some law about physics. For instance, with robots, when the children simulate with robots the relationship among speed and space, because, for instance, they have a robot that have to cover a particular path, and they understand that the time could change if you improve the speedness or something similar. So it is a good way to see the law applied, not just because you read an algorithm or a law in the book, but because you see by your experience. There's someone that is writing. I don't see the chat.
Pedro is writing.
Okay, Pedro, but also Pedro is a Scuola Gabriel Castella de Rec. Is Pedro?
No, from Portugal.
Portugal.
No, okay. I'm explaining that to achieve all these things, it's good to participate in the first Lego League, because the students have they have to achieve this.
Yes.
So it develops all these things that you are seeing now, like science, about everything.
Yes, it's very interesting for them, this experience. We also one of the teachers that we 2 years ago we realized the project as Barbara said before, because she was one of the participants of this project. Oh, we have a small robot. It is a Lego one.
We do. Yes, with Lego.
Okay, no, because I see your picture very small, so I don't see very well.
Okay. You and Alfonso, Pedro.
What?
You and Alfonso made this.
No. It was the students. No, with the students. We started the program last year. Now we have the problem because they can't work together because we use this program to improve the teamwork. And to work about maths and so on, but now they can't be together. We are stopping with a pause in the program.
Yes, because actually educational robotics is a good way to improve teamwork, but this is not only the only aim, because we also realized some studies demonstrating that educational robotics is very good for teamwork, but it is also very good for learning and for improved cognitive processes. So it's not only teamwork that, however, it is a very good goal, but it is not only teamwork. It is also learning. It is really creative thinking and cognitive processes and attention, memory, and so on.
Researching too.
Sorry?
Research. It's very important for them to research other forms to do the other way to do the robots.
Yes. It's very interesting. Also, all the aspects of educational robotic may be of useful for improving some cognitive processes. Also, the basic activities to put together the bricks and to look for the right bricks in the box is very important, because it allows to improve your visual perceptual abilities, for instance, and to discriminate between two very similar blocks, to use motricity with very small pieces and so on. Lot of abilities could be improved using robots.
Sorry, Antonella, but many years ago, when I used to teach in other school, and the difficult school, like I don't know, maybe it's Zen, maybe, but they don't know, which is one of the most difficult school in Palermo. Some teachers, they bring a motorcycle. It was broken motorcycle, and and the students, were very difficult students, they have to build a motorcycle. So that was great.
A real one.
A real one. So it was great because they started to do everything. I mean, they really improved a lot. And at first, it was like, the only way to keep their attention and their concentration for the things, and they did really was great. And I think this should. I know the robotics for sure it's more complete as a process.
Yes,
but for sure, I think something similar that is much easier maybe to do for the school. Maybe it's daily things that we can find. We can insert in the didactics, normal didactics can be an idea. I mean, just thinking.
Yes, it's exactly what we are trying to do, and that what we already done with some experimental experiences. And also we are trying also to use robots in order to discuss about emotion, for instance. That is another aspect interesting. I show you a nice video about that. This is this is a small video that we realized because we tried to use the Mindstorm. You see that we put the smile, the small face with the emotional expression, because we are trying to create a learning situation about emotion as well, in order to let the children to understand the connection, the body-mind connection. So when they create the body of the robot and they program their cognitive processes, and in this moment we can start also to discuss about why the robot feel fear, for instance. So in this case it feel fear because he have a sensor here, and the sensor perceived that there was the end of the table, so it was in danger because it can broken and fall down. So, for instance, the fear is something that protects you, because when you see that there is something that is fearing for you, you're protected by yourself by avoiding this situation, for instance. So you can start to discuss about even very sometimes complicate processes, complicate arguments, and when children do it by creating a small robot, programming it, and observing its behavior, everything is really more simple. And also the experience that you talked about, Anna, about the students in this difficult school, it is exactly what I mean. Sometimes with some students, and it is particularly true for schools that are in places that are disadvantaged, or people that have no very high interest towards school. So this is the way, using practical activities, but they are not practical activities that we have to consider as lower level activities. Not because sometimes we used to distinguish between practical and theoretical activities, sometimes considering that theoretical are the high level and the practical ones are the low level. This is not the case for educational robotics, because it is a practical activities that involve very high cognitive and also emotional processes. So I think that it is really the key for the success. The fact that it joins a practical activities with very high cognitive processes. So it is really interesting also in this sense. And also we also realized some activities in of educational robotics applied to children with special needs. And even in this case, we gained very interesting results. We developed a protocol that is a collection of guidelines for realizing robotic personalized activities for children with special needs. And we already made some experiences with children with deficit of attention, with autism spectrum disorder, with also with specific problems, for instance, visual spatial difficulties and so on. And these activities are really, really important for these children. You can also create individual activities that can be guided from teachers for students with special needs, from our special teachers. In Italy, we have this kind of teachers. I know that not in other countries they are at school. For instance, I think that in Romania you don't have special teachers, but you have still special schools or not? How is the situation in Romania about special needs?
We have a teacher for support them, but only one time per week.
In the mainstream school, or they are in special school?
In our school, no, in a normal school. No.
So children with special needs are included in the normal school?
Yes, they are included.
Okay.
In a normal class.
One or two in a class. They
Okay.
are
So like Italy, because in different countries there is a different situation about that. And you have only one times a week the special teacher?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it is not so much.
Yes.
It's not enough. Yes.
It's not enough. In Italy, it's different because special teachers have. It's the number of hours that they spend at school. It depends on the level of gravity, of the level of the illness, or the needs, the level of needs of each child. But it is also interesting to say that if you, for instance, create an activities with educational robotics activity, it is a very good activity also for inclusion, because you can do it individually with each child, but you also can do it in a small group of students, putting together the children with special need with the other alums. The important thing is to assign to each of them specifically. Just a moment, because my dog had another dog in the building. Okay. Is answering to another dog that it is out of my house. Okay, so I was saying that is very important in this case to assign to each of them specific activities in order that the child with special need has his specific task that he can develop with its time and without interference and probably also creating a good teamwork among children that have children with special needs and their classmates. So it's very important. And also educational robotics can be also used in an integrated way. For instance, in these activities, this activity was performed with a child with autism spectrum disorder. In this case, he had difficulties in discriminate between right and left, So he had to program the small robot to take some direction. So, for instance, the right and left direction, go on, move forward, and so on. So the activities was divided in activities without the robot, always about left side, right side. What does it mean? The difference among the right hand and the left hand. And then the same concept was used for create the activities with the robot. So it is a very flexible way to teach different kind of concept, from very simple concept like the difference among directions up to concept more difficult. For instance, in another lab, in another experience, we used educational robotics with students of secondary school in order to teach them concept about physics. The example that I was doing before about, for instance, the relationship among speed and space and so on. So it is a very, very large field with many, many kind of possible application. And just to connect to the aim of your project, a very interesting thing is that there are many applications. There are already many applications of robotics for different aspects of sea life. In this picture, you can see that there have been already created the small robots that simulate sea organisms, like this one. So it is very important. It is a very they are very sophisticated robots, but most of them are already used. For instance, there are already some application of these kind of robots. This one, for instance, the robot fish is a robot that researchers use in order to study the deep of the sea. So it is used in order to see, for instance, to explore some part of the sea when the people can go, because it could be very dangerous for humans to go there. But this kind of robot that simulate the semblance of a fish, so it is also important for the general environment, has a lot of sensor and a webcam. So the people that control in a remote way the robot can see and study and observe different aspects of the deep sea. And another important possibility of application is again in the field of education. And my suggestion is also to check this website, because in Genova, I think all of you know Genova is in the north of Italy, realized a lot of experience with the robots that are particularly suitable for the use in the water. And as you can see, they are very simple robots that the children can build, and they are used in order to create some project about the sea life, in order to teach children a concept about how to keep clean the sea, and because there are the robots that are used to catch the plastic bottle in the water, or other kind of aims. So I I have no experience in this particular application. We never made a project using robot for the sea or for the sea life, but I tried this kind of application for you, since I would like to make some example that could be very useful for you. But now I think that it's the time for Palermo as well, and for you as well, for your project. And why not? Because I think that for a city like Palermo is not very different from Genova, and it could be very, very, very nice to have this kind of application also in our town, in your school as well, in particular the school that is Isola delle Femmine, then very, very near to the sea. And I don't know if in the other country you are near to the sea, probably not, or yes.
No, probably yes, Antonella, because we choose this group. We developed this project just because we are all by the sea. So that's a big thing. I mean, yes, always maybe 50 kilometers, something like this, but we are all by the sea.
Also, Romania.
Yes, yeah, Romania is very close to the Black Sea, maybe 30 kilometers or something like that.
Okay, very good.
Close to Constanza.
Okay, and Spain, which is the city of Spain?
It's close to Barcelona.
Yes. Close to Barcelona, and Portugal is very close.
Close to Porto.
Okay, so probably it could be also a good idea to realize some activity like that for all of you. And I think I will. It is a nice, probably is something that you can do by yourself, or if you like, we can also see the video together. But in this experience, it is very nice because these are really educational experiences performed with the teachers that are trained to the use of robot. And then there are some experiences for children. So children are trained towards the use of the robot. Then they develop the robot using very simple kits and not expensive one, and then they try to use the robot in the water. So I think it is a very nice experience that probably you could try to replicate. So far, I never made an experience with robot in the water, but I don't know, if you want to realize something, I will be happy also to try to find together a way to apply this kind of project. Well, our time is almost off, but there is the time for answer, consideration, whatever you need for. And here there's a list of reference. These are papers and articles that I write and I author with other colleagues. If you need, if you are interested in read them, just let me know. I can send you, and I can send you Anna, and then she could share to the other people.
Can we have this presentation for our map? For this project?
The slides? You mean the slides? Yes, I can send to Anna the slides. No problem for me.
Yes, Emilia, I already thought about that. I was sure you were asking about that. So I already asked. I was 100% sure. So I already organized. Don't worry, Emilia.
You know me better.
Yes, now I know you very, very well. Don't worry. And I will send you even the rec of this video of this meeting, so you can insert in your and give to your national agency and tell them, "Oh, you see how we're working, eh?"
Yes.
Yes, you know. It is also important.
Yes.
It is also important to do that.
I was just asking, is any schools in Palermo who apply these things? You say yes or not, but Maybe some schools already?
Not about the sea, not activity
Not
about
about the sea, okay.
other activities. Yes, when we had, for instance, the study about the teaching physics was performed at the Cannizzaro. It is a secondary school, scientific secondary school in Palermo. And also in a lower level secondary school that is, I cannot remember the name. It's the school. There are several schools. In this moment,
they use this methodology.
Yes, they use these methodologies because the teachers that worked in this school followed a project some years ago. We realized 2 years ago, we realized a project. Also, Barbara Papagalli was in the team. We realized a project for teachers. So all the teachers learned these methodologies, and some of them applied during the project the activities in their school. So we had several schools: Cannizzaro, Leonardo da Vinci, the school Padre Puglisi, and yes, some other school that in this moment I cannot remember, but we had both primary and secondary school.
And what about Spain and Portugal? Do you use a lot, or was just like how do you say, experimental didactics or something like this, or it's in part is already in the program? I say planning of the school every day, every year planning school. Yes, Nicoletta, don't worry. Thank you, Nicoletta, to be here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I
hope I can see you. Ciao, Nicoletta. Don't worry. Thank you so much. So, Pedro, what you were saying?
Yes, in Portugal, it's part of our program. We do the robotica. This year it's not possible to do it because of COVID, and we have, we have a special unity in my school with the spectrum of autists. We have autistic students at my school, and we are trying that they work too with this program, because they have daily tasks to do. They are in classes, but they have other tasks to do with psychology and so on. Now we are trying to have this the robotica in their program. Now I think Nuno knows better than me. We are buying computers for them to work in this program.
And Nuria, do you have in Spain as well? It's a part of the program of all the school, or just the experimental didactics methodologies?
We started 2 years ago as a workshop. So every level had a workshop with robotics. The youngest with the Bebots, the medium with the WeDo, and the oldest with the Mindstorms. And also it's an extra activity, and after school, I mean, and these teams that work after school are the ones that participate in the first week. But our intention is to put it in the program. This year, as we don't have the workshops, because our workshops were mixing, then we had different level students, but now we are bubbles, so we cannot mix students because of the COVID. So this year we are not working as the same that we worked last year or the other one. So we hope next year we could come back to the same way of working.
I think in our school, I think Carla just started something with the code. No, Carla, did you start something with the code with the kindergarten? So come on, go ahead, Carla. I think she wrote to me. She does something with the code, and which is they use the Simple Mind robot. That's what they do on the kindergarten. That's what they start with this here in our school, but just in the kindergarten and not in other level of the school. So I guess it will be next challenge for us. Giusy and Alessandro are listening, so maybe we can bring these new things at school and see if it works or not. Huh? Giusy, what do you think?
We can try something new, and you know that we do all the effort. We make all the efforts we can to motivate and stimulate our students. So why not? We should try this one as well. This new methodology. We just need to plan how to implement.
I mean, this is yes, absolutely. And this year, for sure, it's not the right year because
right here. Yeah.
No, as a teacher, and
this year
I'm very suffering a lot because I'm not the teacher who stays sitting. I'm really like going everywhere, using all the school. And
while I was listening to the presentation and I was having a look at the pictures, I was thinking really of the class space arrangement.
Yeah.
That is in Italian schools is a big limit, because this kind of methodology requires a different seating plan, a different arrangement of desks and chairs. Normally it could be something to plan properly in order to implement it. But this year really it's even more difficult.
This year is even more difficult because in some situation you cannot meet the student in presence. This is the first obstacle, and the second obstacle is also that you cannot share the things. You cannot touch the same tools and so on. About the arrangement, the desk arrangement, it is not really a problem because, for instance, the teachers that participated to the experience in last years, 2 years ago, and so on, they just created the right arrangement for the laboratory. So I know that it requires more effort and more time just to arrange the desk in a different way. But they usually do that, or also for the robotic lab they move in another place in the school that will already ready for this kind of activity.
Yeah, I think that this would be the best solution, having a proper lab. Where you take the students.
In another project that we realized some years ago, that we realized in another school in Palermo is the school Buonarroti. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
They created a specific lab for these activities. So for all the period of experimentation, the teachers had a place where to with the desk already arranged for these kind of activities. So it all depends also on the organization of the single school, the teachers, the manager, and so on.
Emilia, do you have in Romania, or you just it's because you don't know, like us, we don't know? It's something that is in the Romanian school. Maybe you can find something like this or not?
So this method, I know, is applying in high school. In our time, we have a teacher of informatics who applied this method with her students. But in gymnasium, no.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And for instance, this year, even considering the pandemic situation, we are realizing, probably we will start in the next month, also new activities, new trainings with teachers, but we will start with at distance lessons, and we will realize the in presence activities as soon as we will have the opportunity to do it, probably after January or February or so on. So we have not to stop too much for this situation, because in the meanwhile, a lot of things can be done also using at distance learning. And also we are trying to, we are not ready to do that, but this year we would like to do it. We are trying to involve parents in some activities with children, for instance, with children with special needs, teaching parents to help their children, and creating a guide at distance with teachers. So, for instance, the special teacher is at home, and just using the video conference guide the child with assign some activities, some tasks, and the child at home could be helped by their parents. So it is another possibility that we are trying to imagine for children that cannot go at school if there will be another lockdown, for instance, because in this moment the children with special needs are attending the school in presence. So in this moment you can do it, even if with a lot of difficulties for touching the blocks and so on. But we are trying to imagine also new way to apply this method also at distance, because it is important also to try to do something anyway.
Correct. It's very tough at this moment. As I say, I feel really bad because music, it's one of the subjects penalized, really penalized. I cannot do anything. And I feel like, as you say, the teacher that stays sitting in the chair and say, okay, this is this is that, because I cannot dance with them, I cannot go out, I cannot play instruments with them, and this is of course I cannot sing with them, and this is making me frustrated, really frustrated, but it's okay, we will survive for sure.
It's the most dangerous, Anna. It's the most dangerous.
It's the most dangerous subject, absolutely. It's the most dangerous. I invented the space outside in the garden in the middle of anything, because we don't have so many space where we can sing, but we sing with the mask. They ask me, can we take away the mask? No, to keep the mask. So we're like 2 meters far, everyone is 2 meters far, and everybody try to listen to the others because it's very terrible that we cannot hear. So I play, and then I take the raid. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess, really a mess. But we keep going. Okay.
Yes.
So I think, Antonella, I want to say thank you for the very nice presentation. So thanks so much. Thank you to all the participants. Emilia, we got her presentation, don't worry. And thank you to everybody. I think it was very nice. First of all, it was very nice to see you again, at least on online, but it's always nice to see all of you. So thank you. If you have some more questions to do, or you want some specify something, we are here to answer. I mean, Antonella is here to answer, and I can say my ideas. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much for everything. It was a great presentation, and we keep in touch.
Yes, Nuno, we keep in touch, of course. We miss all of you. We miss the very nice hotel where we were in Portugal. We miss the train of in Spain.
Thank you.
And we can apply this methodology in Italy, practical activities with robotics.
Sorry, what is that, Emilia?
We can apply in Italy. When we'll come in Italy, we can apply this method
We can maybe we'll see if we can. Why not? Maybe Antonella will help us.
It could be an idea. I don't know how your project works, how many days you will be here when you will come in Palermo, but probably we could organize some experiential activity as well, if you like. Yes.
Maybe we can come to, or you can tell us where to go, a university or somewhere where they already have a lab, and maybe we can use the lab of the.
Yes, also, but we don't have. We have the tools, and we move the tools in the school because it's better. Yes,
Okay.
it's better. But we'll see. We can, because
we can arrange.
We have also labs at university, because I also collaborate with colleagues from the Department of Engineering and Informatics, and we are also realizing some research experience also with humanoid robots. So if there will be the opportunity, it would be also nice to make a little tour with humanoids robots. We use a Pepper. I don't know if you never saw the robot Pepper. Is a nice humanoid robot that interacts.
Cleaning the house? Is it cleaning the house?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I think it's time to.
No, we don't need it. We don't need it.
I think it's time to invite something like this. I think so. No.
We are doing some research activities about a sort of complicated concept like trust, human computer interaction, and so on. But yes, it could be a good idea. So let me know about the development of your project, and we'll see if it's possible to realize some other activities about educational robotics. Why not?
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
And for me, it would be very nice also to see that if you will be able to create something about robot in the sea, so it will be a really application of this.
That's a good idea, Emilia. We need another Erasmus project about that. Start to write.
It could be the idea for the next one.
Exactly. It could be there for the next one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
okay.
Anyone? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Tatiana. Thank you to Antonella. Thank you to Nuria. Thank you to Pedro, Giussi, and everyone. Sandra, Carla, Maristella, everyone, and hello to your school, to Emma and Carla Larizza, which are here with us. So thank you to everybody. See you soon. I don't know when, where, but keep in touch. Okay.
Good luck, everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Ciao, bye.
Love, love.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Doamna Stanciu, tipa care are farmacia de pe colț de acolo, de la spital. Deci are făcută în vara trecută la București operație.